Hello, everyone, and welcome to a very special episode of Waffling On, where I'd like to say we have the privilege of being joined by the GM of Ultimate British Wrestling, Chase Anthony.
Evening.
Chase, you have a long history with UBW and also with the Wrestling Outsider, and we've always been grateful up until this point for your interaction. However, when you approached us at the end of WrestleMania 6, as we were left dumbfounded by your actions, and said you were willing to talk, we were slightly dubious as to whether we should accept your offer. In the spirit of good journalistic etiquette, however, we've invited you here today so that you can speak to us and the wider wrestling community.
Very kind of you.
Whoa.
We had a conversation about Daniel. Daniel, good to see you, by the way.
Yeah, you too, man.
Yeah.
Great.
We did have a conversation about this that I expected. This is journalism. Okay? You're proving to me now that this is a true central point of good wrestling journalism. Neutrality.
Neutral, and hence Dan is sitting as far away from you as we can possibly manage.
And believe me when I say I appreciate that. Please do continue.
You've had a long and storied career at UBW, starting as a referee in 2018.
That's correct.
Leading on 2019, you took over ring announcing duties.
I did.
And then 2021, I believe, September, the first show back after the pandemic, you took over the role of general manager.
That's correct.
The vibrancy, I guess, that you showed as ring announcer, meaning Paul Ash saw something in you that you could do more for UBW.
I'll start with that. UBW fans, as you say, were very well aware of me. And coming back in 2021 from what was 18 months of confusion and concern and anxiety, wrestling was in probably one of the worst states it had been in. And there needed to be a friendly face to start off that first show. So I sat down with my friend Paul at dinner, and I like to still call Paul my friend, by the way, despite the fact that he hasn't answered my calls. I've messaged him. Still trying to reach out to you, Paul, on a daily basis. You're not reaching out. But we went out to dinner, and I spoke to Paul about the direction of UBW as we came back to the pandemic, and the direction of my role. Now, full transparency, I wanted to stay as ring announcer, but at the time as well, I was considering options as to, representing a wrestler or a number of wrestlers, similar to, how events have taken these days. But that's a different time, a different story. What I was offered by Paul, was the role of general manager. A friendly face for the UBW fans, a friendly face still, might I add, a friendly face for the UBW fans that wanted to do what was best for UBW. And that is everything I've had in my mindset. That is all I've wanted since September 5th, 2021, was what was best for UBW. Thus, hard to argue, and I'm sure you will try to. I believe you will try to. Especially, I see you, Daniel. I do see you. Some of the best decisions you've seen in UBW, not only in the past 4 years. Let's go back 10 years. Some of the decisions made since 2021, some of the matches you've seen, couldn't have been possible without the UBW general manager, Chase Anthony. It's hard to argue, right?
Certainly, it appears that you've had some influence on things that we've enjoyed over the years, involving the talent. And I'd have to say at this point, this is what you described Paul Ash as. You said, most recently, you're just talent. Mm-hmm. Is this maybe why he's not returning your calls at this point? Because you've said we were friends. You've said now that you'd very much like to class him still as a friend, but you put the man in the class of just talent.
He is very talented.
He is very talented. But for a relationship where there's more to it, just talent.
I never made the choice to make Paul just talent. I never told Paul not to continue as general manager. I never asked Paul to step aside. I never told Paul that he should be the one reuniting with Curve, with Phil Bedwell, and reforming New Breed. That wasn't my decision. That wasn't my choice. That was his choice. He made his bed. when he decided to become talent. He wanted that one last shot. He wanted that one last chance. And let's be fair, he's now had 2 opportunities to get that gold and he has failed. And it's not me again, that's talent. So that was Paul's choice, ultimately. And I'm still happy to have a discussion with Paul if he would like it. And I'll even reach out to the fans. I'll speak to Ash. If Ash is willing to speak to me, I'll work with him.
Do you think there's anyone in the roster at the moment who would accept anything you said as truth, given that when we look back, you've had an influence, as you've said, that seems to be a long game that no one else saw you playing for the betterment of certain individuals within UBW?
I would love to hear examples of your long game. Please enlighten me as to this long game that Chase Anthony has played.
It's not a surprise to anyone, a regular viewer, that we are not necessarily fans of memes, given what he's done over the last few years. And you yourself have stood across the ring from this guy as someone who isn't particularly keen on the guy. We go back to way back, where you stood by as the show memes were destroyed. And after that, Crowley then speared you. So I would have thought there would be some kind of camaraderie between you and the rest of show memes. However, it continues. Memes has been an aggressor over the years, definitely, towards you.
It's the most polite word I've ever
Special
heard.
words for memes.
Special words for memes.
You had a disagreement over a contract. Memes stepped away from UBW, and you negotiated for some time, not willing to pay him, which is fair enough, looking after the company, and the creative control saga began. Outlined from that, you gave chances to Crowley when Memes was standing in waiting, first against Tajiri, and then for the big prize, which eyed the man, mainly at his former show Memes colleague. But it goes further, because Memes then becomes champion, much to your chagrin if we look back at the footage. And after that, you cost him that second reign back at UBWX. A long game of revenge, maybe warranted at the time, but this goes on. You stand to one side as Truman Roswell then wraps a chair around his head and incapacitates him. You're in the ring, you're standing as close to this incident as I am to you now, and you do nothing except for hand the microphone to Truman.
This is classic. This is classic UBW fan just brain here. Every show, there is at least one match where something will happen in the ring that will either cause injury to an official or leave a questionable judgment for the UBW fans. And do you know what I hear? As I'm standing doing my job as an unbiased ring announcer, trying to be the general manager of UBW, go on, Chase, get in there and help. I have heard that for 4 years. So when I decide to step up, suddenly it's a problem. This has all been brought on from you. Well, not you particularly. Maybe you. Maybe not you, Claire.
Not me.
Not the
me.
nice one.
I'm nice.
Constantly, people wanting more from Chase. So when I decide to step up, to step forward, to see an opportunity where a decision needs to be made, suddenly it's a problem. Let's talk about memes for a second. Let's talk about my history with memes. Now, memes and my feud, rivalry, history, whatever you want to call it. Again, not a choice made by me. Let's not forget that the same show that I was announced as UBW General Manager, Memes, to quote a phrase used by the UBW social media, Memes turned his back on UBW when he gave the game over to one of your favourites, Smashing Mike. That wasn't my involvement, that was Memes' involvement. And I had no choice as a general manager than to ensure that Memes was not rewarded for holding UBW hostage. And it's incredibly hard to argue that to a certain extent, UBW continued to be held hostage by means. I never granted him creative control. As general manager, where does that make sense for me to grant someone else control over their matches? Does that make sense to any of you?
It doesn't make sense, but there was creative control. As a general manager, did you exercise no power?
And do you want to know that the biggest lie that UBW has been telling everyone for nearly 4 years? Let's call it 4 years. Let's call it since September 5th, 2021, when I was announced as the UBW general manager. The lie was that I was ever truly, solely in charge. Let's look back. We've mentioned him already. Memes, creative control, something I did not give him power. We look back at matches that were announced, like a match a couple of years ago between the Meme team at the time and Sunset Skip and RJ Singh. That was not a match announced by me. That was a match announced by a friend I've already mentioned, Paul Lash. I wasn't the one who laid the challenge between the New Breed and the Odyssey at UBWX. I only confirmed a match that the fans said they wanted. And now I'm contending with authority again in the sense of our new co-GM, Hugo Bloom. You think I was involved in that decision to make Hugo Bloom co-general manager?
It did seem a surprise to you at the time.
It's still a surprise to me that we have a co-GM when UBW has been fine for 4 years nearly with the OGM, Chase Anthony. You've got to understand from my level that all I have wanted to do, and I have already said this, is what is best for UBW. And that is what I will continue to do, even if it means making sure that we have a champion in UBW that we can be proud of.
Adonis Pay.
Is he currently the champion?
Well, he should be. If he hadn't whacked him with a chair, he might be.
I'm going to make this very clear now. And I'm hoping that Adonis, you're listening. Adonis, you were in the wrong place at the wrong time. It should have always been Ricky Calvey.
So let's talk about Ricky Calvey.
Please, let's do.
This is something that we need to look way back on as well.
Can we talk about the purple pants?
We can talk about purple pants.
They are amazing.
Purple seems to be a real
like
thing.
Purple. Purple's good. And the mirror thing is good.
I think Chase Stars wear his other trouser like when?
It's a good question.
Maybe it was used to me because you've got the purple jacket. Was the purple coordinated? That's my question. Was the purple coordinated?
You notice I'm not wearing the purple jacket
I know,
tonight.
I was going to steal it.
Yeah, there's a reason.
Oh, yeah.
Continue.
So Ricky Calvey, current UBW champion.
Correct.
A popular UBW champion in your eyes?
He certainly should be. Let's look at Ricky Calvey. Let's look at the history of Ricky Calvey. Let's not argue that Ricky Calvey has appeared in UBW for several years under a different guise, let's say. We recognise him for, to bring you on board, some slightly more colourful wrestling types at one point. But beneath all that, Ricky Calvey has been one of the stalwarts of UBW, one of the UBW greats that was denied opportunity after opportunity after opportunity, chance after chance after chance. And yes, often it's due to his own unluckiness. But neutrality, you said. But when the moment came where it mattered to Ricky Calvey, he took it. He realised the importance, and he realised just how much he was worth to UBW. I can't deny a man who has tried and tried and tried and deserves gold.
See, this is the thing. You keep talking about opportunity.
Yes.
And I would say your interaction with Ricky Calvey reflects badly on him. But the opportunities that he's got since you've been GM, go way back. This is a man who you say he's grasped the opportunity now. If we go back to the tail end of 2022, out of nowhere, he gets a Young Lions Championship opportunity against Josh Spicer, which he fails. Fair enough, a great champion. The next month, he's suddenly booked as the square one #1 competitor against Leo Edwards. Did he win that one? I don't think he did. And then what happens next? Someone decides there should be a free-for-all for the UBW Championship. Truman Roswell acts in possibly not the best way, injuring stalwart Paul Ash after involvement in a match that involves you restarting the match. So machinations involving yourself again, we'll put that to one side for now. The championship is made free and put up at Lava. Ricky Calvey comes out quite late in that one. Sources that I've investigated show that he may have meant to have been out at #1. Again, hearsay. Cannot say anything there. Ricky doesn't prevail at that point. Then we look at Sacrifice. Sacrifice Pro Wrestling, something that you're familiar with as the commissioner of this promotion. The next month is January of the next year. He's put into the Ultimate Sacrifice match against Roth. Opportunity after opportunity that he doesn't come back with any of the gold on. Any influence from you?
The best way I can comment on this.
Actually, let's not have a comment on this one. Let's continue looking at the evidence, shall we? You've been bossed, June 2023. You were invited along to talk to the boss.
Yes.
You attend, and thank you for doing that. We had a nice time. We also had an assistance from Ricky Calvey, who for some reason is on site. Yeah, it's there. I have the evidence. And we have a discussion. Who should be the next champion? Who do you think would make a good champion? You put forward
Ricky Calvey. Surely he is maybe worth a championship shot at some point.
Ricky Calvey. June 2023. July. What happens in July? The current UBW champion is stripped of his title. Memes wins. We've already discussed this. Memes then goes on to UBWX. Someone's involved in the match as referee. The referee's unable to attend. And we keep saying over and over again, more officials. A burden is put on Nick, and all of a sudden we have a new referee for the main event. Any idea who? A referee who takes part in the match, takes the title away because of his interaction interference. Hugo Bloom becomes the title holder. Then where do we go from there? Lava again. Ricky Calvey in very late in the Lava match. Very late. Every subsequent entrant into that match has been busy on the circuit. Ricky Calvey has not. He has been rested. At this point, Ricky Calvey goes in fresh, 25th man into a 30-man rumble and prevails. He's the #1 contender for the UBW Championship. And then we come to WrestleMania, and we all know what happens there. At this point, again, a referee is put to one side and we call for a replacement. Someone who we can trust, someone who's worn the shirt before, steps up to the plate. It wasn't Scarro. It wasn't Scarro. And we have issues here because this is the day when Chase Anthony takes to the ring again in the title match, where we have the previous title holder, Hugo Bloom, forcibly removed. Unprecedented times. Chase Anthony, general manager, has spoken to Hugo Bloom backstage and convinced him to give up the title. Hugo Bloom puts forward a challenger, maybe foolishly, giving the crowd, the fans, what they want. Adonis Payne, who has already wrestled on the day. And a smile on your lips just now. Nothing to do with you. This is all on Hugo. You're now co-GM. Maybe he realised his mistake. Ricky Calvey prevails. Why does he prevail?
First of all, bravo on a stunning collection of tales and stories that you've weaved together like a board that you see in that photo from It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia. Links, characters, It's a great tale, isn't it? And it's such fantastic. May I just say, you mentioned him earlier. It's almost Truman-esque. Would you not agree? Maybe that's why you're such a fan of this.
Yeah, the man seeks the truth.
It tends to be
This is what we're seeking as well.
But I'll give you the most clear understanding I can give right now. You were all front row facing Ricky Calvey. You saw his face at that moment. Was that a man who knew he was going to win the championship? Ricky and I hadn't spoken at all that day. It was I who saw how hard Ricky Calvey had been working at that point. You can weave your threads. You can have your pages and pages of history, but you weren't in the ring. You don't know the thoughts of us in that moment. I saw in that moment that Ricky had worked hard and continued and strived with some of the best moveset in UBW that you have seen. Ricky Calvey, in that moment, deserved the UBW British Heavyweight Championship more than Adonis Payne. Everything that led up to that moment is merely coincidence.
That's a lot of coincidence, isn't it? Look at all that page of coincidence.
And that one. And to say one man is more deserving than another on the effort they've put in.
Yeah.
When you're talking about one of the new backbone of UBW is a little galling. Opportunity, opportunity, opportunity. You appear to be the king of opportunity at this point.
You have in one corner the longest reigning tag team champion, one half of the longest reigning tag team champions. What happens to his focus if he wins the other belt? The main belt. What happens to his focus if he wins the UBW British Heavyweight Championship? What happens to the team? What happens to the united front of the Odyssey? It's to say that Artemis doesn't suddenly see a bigger belt, see a big shiny belt. You want to see Odyssey torn over heavyweight championship by any means, would you? If anything, I've guaranteed that the UBW Tag Team Champions remain strong, and that UBW remains strong with a strong, deserving champion. You shake your head, Dad. You shake your head. Please tell me, please tell me. What? You've been complaining. You've put the middle finger up at this camera, at me, and you laugh about it. You're laughing about it.
More than once, too.
You come up with these signs, which fortunately, for once, you've not put out. The boo you Chase Anthony signs. You did that. You three. Tell me, Dan. Go on. This is your opportunity. I'm sat right here.
Do you know what it is?
Go on, please.
I loved you, Chase. You were UBW to me. When you weren't at a show, that show, it wasn't as bright, it wasn't as shiny as the others. And you were everything that made it great. I clapped you when you did your little run around the ring. I laughed when you said you were tired when you got into the ring. I loved everything about it. I bloody love your purple jacket.
I love the purple jacket.
Alfie made you the badges. You wore the badges, and it filled us with pride when you wore the badges. And then you got in the ring and you hit Adonis with the chair, and it ruined everything. It just ruined it all. And I don't want to watch this, whatever it is now. So that's why we made the signs, and that's why I come to Coventry and boo you every word you said. And that's why I'll be there wherever you are, booing you too. Because you ruined it all.
Claire?
Well, mine goes back to Feel the Heat. Back to when you called out my boy as trying to take your job. Now, to be fair, he probably could have done it. And he wouldn't have been as much of a meanie pig as you have been since, because he probably would have supported your John's pain. Now, don't get me wrong, he likes Ricky Calvey. Ricky Calvey deserves all the things he has, but Ricky deserves those things, not you.
I get it. I get this. I get what this is. Because you've been Wrestling Outsider, I have supported you. I've supported you as UBW general managers, Ringing Outside promoted, your funny little magazines, your interviews. I appeared on your video, you said that. I wanted to believe that the Wrestling Outsider could be a true journalist in wrestling, up there with some of the best in British journalists. Johners, Tees and Tights, hitting the turnbuckle. You could have been up there, but what this has ultimately shown me, and I haven't even come to you yet, Gray. Ultimately, this is a group of mums and dads upset that I made their kids cry because their kids didn't get their way. Now, that doesn't say as much about me as it does about you guys spoiling your children because they didn't get their way. I'm going to bring it over.
Did get his way though. Finn got his way because he wanted Harrison to win that day, and Harrison beat up Tony Sin and threw him out, and Harrison won. And I think I've got a photo. I can share that with you if you want to see it.
It'd be worth seeing.
Where Harrison's lifting his arm up as champion. So that kind of doesn't ring true, does it, Chase? So I'm kind of a bit of a loss to your argument, really.
And Eloise.
Yeah, Eloise, who sat opposite you and interviewed you and enjoyed your company, not just on that day, but for years prior, who respects you, who has booed memes, who she adored in your favour. The girl who sat there, happy that she was interviewing you and was told by you that you are answerable to the fans. That you are answerable to the fans. You want a position of authority and respect from the wrestlers in the back. And that's the toughest part of your job. You told her that. You said that was tough, but you're answerable to the fans. We are trying to be journalists, as you put it, but we are also fans. And yet, you treat us with disdain now, and maybe the whole time. From your current demeanour, I think you probably didn't care at all.
You say I'm answerable to the fans. I feel like I've answered the fans this evening. Whether you agree or disagree, I've answered the fans. You're correct in when I said that being respected in authority was my challenge. But whether you like it or not, the actions I have taken, the actions I have shown wherever I go in wrestling, be it a small chair shot or even potentially a grand division, I demand respect. And I don't think anyone now can argue that I have that authority. I think we're done here. I think this is cute, lovely pages. I don't feel like I can repeat myself much more.
I find it interesting. You say you now have the authority. Congratulations on the authority.
Thank you.
Because you no longer have the respect. And thank you for giving us this opportunity of which you speak of. Opportunity, opportunity, opportunity. Please take this opportunity to leave Wrestling Outside of Towers.
It's been a pleasure. Send my love to the kids.
Thanks everyone for joining us. Well, at home at least. We'll see more of this grand vision that Chase Anthony is putting forward for us all. I hope you join us next time. Stay in the know with the WO.